Okay, so we're going to try to create this kind of game whereby our circle have to have to fall inside our rectangle. So and once it fills, it's going to be a game over. So it's keep on counting like scores. You understand? So let's try over again. So what you have to do is just calm yourself down, watch the video, because I'm going to be explaining each and every steps concerning this video. Thank you. Stay calm and enjoy the video. So now the first thing I have to do here is I have to start writing on my editor. Now this is what we call the editor, and uh, as you can see, where I am presently is the editor. And here's the help window. I tell you guys, time is not number that the help window basically is to help us out. Now, the first thing I have to do is remember I said we're using a graphics window. Now, according to what is written here, it says that graphics window provides graphics related inputs and outputs functionality. For example, using this class, it is possible to draw and fill circles and rectangles. So that means automatically we can perform magic with graphics window. Now, the first thing what I have to do now is let's just see how our graphics window is going to be like where like how where the game is going to be showing. Now, the first thing I have to do is just type in graphics window, enter, type, then is an IDE basically, and what you're seeing here is going to be helping us out to save us time from typing something very long. Like what I have to do is just use my arrow key to select what I want and press enter. So I'm going to click on, then I want width, then I'll be having let us see 400, let us say 500. Okay, then I'll be having graphics window dot height, and let us see the height is going to be, let us say 500 too. And let us run this and let us see what we have just done. Now that means the width and height, this is the width, and basically everybody knows the height. Do you see? That means this is what is going to be shown. Like this is where our game is going to present itself. Now, well, example, if you want to change it, it's your choice. Now you can make it, let us say 900, and you can change the height to, I don't know, anyone. So that means we're going to have a bigger width, and the height is still the same thing. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Now, well, let me return this back to 400. Exactly. Now that is where we are going to be designing our game. Where you just let me name the game a catching game. Exactly, because our motive is letting circles falling down and letting it have a just a touching with a rectangle now. So now the next thing is shift, then just a single inverted comma, then now basically this is just for us to name each and every our code that you know, okay, this belongs to redesigning the ball, this belongs to redesigning rectangle, this belongs to, you understand, and so on and so forth. Like example now, uh let me see, this is the game, this it should be the size of the game, size of the game interface of the game view. Think it's not bad. Okay. Wow, basically this makes works looks professional. You understand? So anytime you are having issue with the code, you know where the problem is coming from. So let us see. Now the first thing I want to create is the bucket. There's a bucket. So how will I create the bucket? So what you have to do is just take your time and look at what I'll be doing here. Now the first thing is, how big is our bucket going to be? Basically, I refer to as bucket, or maybe a very simple rectangle. So how will our bucket or rectangle going to be? So what we want is, remember from the beginning, I in class I I talked about that. I used to talk mostly about variables, and I let me just try to recap what variable is. Variables is basically used to store information, and what does information is like? Basically, what I'm having now is just a variable. I a variable, and a variable basically always have a value, exactly. And the question is, what is going to be the value? How do you write a variable? I think that should be here another talk for another day, because variables basically have uh rules. Variables are being guided by rules. Example is you can use letters, numbers, and underscore. I name your variable. Start your variable with a letter. Store a variable with the values they carry, and so on and so forth. You understand? Maybe some other time we talk about variable. But for now, what I just did now is I just create a variable. This is a variable. So I name this variable should be named bucket. Or okay, bucket or rectangle width. Exactly. Bucket, bucket width. Now let me give my bucket width a size. Like that means I can give it 100 or anything. Let me see. Let me say 100. Example. I'm going to change the value for you to see exactly what I'm doing, just for you to give you an insight on how does it going to look like. So I'm having bucket width. So let me give it another variable again. But this time around, I'm having bucket height, height. Then I want to give it a bucket height of what? Of 40. And I let us say bucket ace. Bucket ace. Now remember, all these are basically value. They are what? They are value. This is a value. Can you see that? And this is a variable. So let's go on. So let's see bucket. Now the main reason why I'm doing all this basically is just to make my work easier. Exactly. Variable is used to store information and save us from a low lot of stress. Like it means most of our work, first of all, we have to create variable for almost everything we'll be doing here, and start calling how the variables one after the other. So so just in case I make mistake in my value, what I have to do is just go back to my variable and the value and change the value. Simple. Instead of me changing the value in all the whole programming, now it won't make sense. Now let us say now after creating a variable and the value, now let us see how to make use of this variable on its own. Now first let us see we have the next thing we're going to do is just graphics window. Graphics window dot brush color, exactly. Then let us say we want to give it color blue. Okay, then let us say we have create another variable again, and this time around the variable is going to be called bucket. Okay, then I'll say equals to shapes. Okay, so what does shapes talks about? It says shapes. The shape, now when you look at the help window, it says that the shape allows you to add, move, and rotate shapes to the graphics window. Now the main question is, why do we put shapes? Shapes basically is just like it's just like an operation, it's just like a function. So now it says that shapes should do what? Should add rectangle. Shape should do what? Shape should add, let us say add rectangle. Exactly. Shape should add rectangle. Now look at what I'm having here. I'm having, okay. So when shapes adds rectangle, now it says for me to add rectangle, you need to add the width and the height of the rectangle. Yeah, I need to add the width and the height of the rectangle. Remember, the first thing is the width, and two of them have to be inside where? Inside a bracket. Now, with a comma separating them. Now it says the width of the rectangle and the height of the rectangle. That means how big the rectangle is going to be and how tall is it going to be. Now, the next thing what I have to do here is just Since I have create variables for all these things, so what I have to do is just call out bucket. Remember, the width is the first thing. The width also always have a value. That means automatically the bucket width is what 100, and the bucket height is automatically 400. But we don't have to write the value here. What we have to do is just to write the variable. So what we have to say, bucket height. Then I think it's cool. Then the next one is, let me, before I put the next one, let us just try to see what we have been doing so far. Let us remember. So I'm having the bucket, which is a variable. That means if I want to call this rectangle shape, I just have to call only the what? Only the bucket. I don't have to call all these. Now, all these basically are variables, and these variables are being stored with a value. That means I want this shape, this rectangle shape, should be should have 100 width, and should have thing is for us to create the ball. So for us, but before we should create the ball, let us know where our bucket is going to be. That means automatically I want my bucket should be down. That means down at the edge, down, which is at the bottom of this graphics window. Now for me to do that, what I have to do is just remember the shape I have to move. So what I'm going to say is just shapes dot what move. Now it says for me to move the shape with the specified name, for me to move the shape with specified name to a new position. So remember, I want to move my rectangle or my bucket to the bottom. So what I have to do is to type move, then the shape name, move, then what I will have in bracket the shape name. Now can someone show me the shape name? Everybody knows. Let me give you 2 seconds for that. Try and tell me what the shape name is called. 1 and 2. Okay, now the shape name is called bucket. Exactly. So once I click on bucket, and the main thing is where is that shape going to be? So remember, I use my x and y, and I've talked about x and y axis. My x is the horizontal, and my y is the vertical. Remember, in mathematics we talk about x and y axis. In Scratch we will basically talk about grid, which is coordinate, whereby a position at which something is meant to be. So let's go on. So I'm having bucket, then I'll have bucket y, bucket x first. Remember, all these things makes it easier for me because I've already stored that as a variable. That means bucket s is what 150. Then this is my shape, the name of my shape. This is the s coordinate where I want my what bucket should be, which is 150, and my bucket y should be on 440. So let me close the bracket and let me stylish run this. Okay, that is cool. So it's at the middle. Now why someone has asked me, someone stylish asked me that why is it at the middle? Do you understand? Now basically the main reason why it's at the middle is because this is bucket x is 150, then that's 150, then the y basically is 440. Now take a look at the width and height. The width is what 400. That means how fat it is. So that means this bucket x, me placing it on 150, basically says that my rectangle or my bucket should maybe stylishly stay at the middle. Now if I change this to 400, it's going to move to the edge, closer to the edge. Now that's why you can see that now because is on the x side. Let me return it back, please. 150. Let me change it to 200. Okay. You see that? keeps on moving on the edge. That means let me put it on me place it on 4. That means it started at the extreme edge of the edge side. Let me place it on 300 or 370. Okay, then it since it's going out now. Exactly, this is what I'm telling you, is moving out. So that means me placing it on 115 basically talks about uh just trying to place everything in the middle, and the eye basically talks about the position on the vertical axis. Now let's go on. Now after that, let us create our ball. Now for us to create our ball, now what I have to do is, first of all, then the next thing is just type in ball like this, then enter. Then how will our ball going to look like? So let me see, let me create some variables here. Let me see what's the size of my ball. That is ball size. Let me see 20. Remember, variable and its value. Then graphics window. Then it says what's the graphics window. Like I want to give it a color now. See, it says graphics window. I think I've read out what the graphics window has to say. It says that draw and fill circles. Fill means fill with what? Color. Dot brush color. Then we see let me see red. Okay, then ball, then ball as a variable again. Ball, what does, why are you creating ball as a variable? Because we want to give it how we give it a size basically. We says ball size is 20 exactly, but we have to call the ball we have to give it a shape. So we have to give it an eclipse shape. An eclipse shape is a circle shape, and the eclipse shape basically is like, oh, okay, we want to give it a circle shape, and we want to give it the size of the ball. Now let me go on. I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. So I'm having ball shapes. Then I'll say dot add eclipse. It says add an eclipse shape is specified width and height. It needs a width and height. Basically, when you go deep into programming, you understand what they call border radius. That means border radius is trying to give the edges, a curved edges. Now, since it's a circle, that means the width and height will be the same thing, so we can have a perfect circle. So we're going to say, okay, what ball? Remember, here it says add eclipse, and it says width. What's the size of the width, and what is the size of the height? Since I'm having I've registered, I've created a variable as ball size as a variable, and the value is 20, so I'm using it too, so I don't have to stress myself. Just ball size, then what again? Guess what? Ball size. That means 20. I think it's cool. Then the next thing, I think before we move to the next thing, something that we can run here. Sometimes the code will fail to run out, sometimes it will run out, you understand? Look at what I'm having here. I'm having the ball, and over the size of the ball is 20, and guess what? It's now, hold on. Let me change the ball size. Let me change it from here. Let me give it a value on my own. Like, let me say 60/40. Then you see how it's not going to form a real circle. That's the main thing. Do you see? It stretches. Because why? I give the width 60, and I'm giving this one 40. Okay, let me interchange it. Let me say 40/60. So look at what I'm having here. Exactly. So that's why we have to use the same width and height while creating what? While creating a circle. So let's go on. Now the next one is how to make sure that our ball, like, was x of our ball, like the coordinate of the x and the coordinate of the y of our ball. So for me to do that, what I have to do is, as usual, ball x, trying to create variables for my ball. So I'll say maths. Now what does math says? It says math says that provide lots of useful mathematics related method. So what did I want to do about math is for me to get a random number. That means my ball have to be coming out in a random position. So it says what does random number says? It's get a random number between 1 and the specified maximum explosive. So now to make our work very fast, I think I'll stop reading all the definitions. So what you have to do is just take your time on your hand and go through all these things yourself. Now, in case you have a question, you can drop a question on my comment, and I will surely attend to the question. So I'm having ball y, and what does ball y say? 0. What is y? Why did I choose 0? See that it's going to start from the top. Is 0. It's going to start from the top. Ball x says, remember, this horizontal is just like the form of our x. That means it's going to start at the random position within 1 to 380. So let's go on. So let me see shapes. Then I'll have move. Okay, so I want it to move. Then what is my shape moving? It's going to move the ball. It's going to move the ball. Exactly. So what I have to click on is ball x. It's going to move the ball to ball x, which is ball x to about 380. That means it's going to move the ball to a random position on our x-axis, and the y is 0. Basically, y means nothing. Y means nothing. So that means anytime I try to run my game, I'll be seeing my ball showing at a different position. At a different position. When I click run, I cancel the game. I click run, it shows different position. And that is how it works, because y means nothing and x means 380. That means from 0 to 380, your ball can show at the top. That is what it's trying to say. So anytime, yeah, exactly. So you can see my ball starting from the left hand side at the top. If I try to run it again, it's going to start from another position, because y says nothing but x is random. It's going to start either from the middle or from the left or from the right, and basically that is how it's meant to work. Ball appear from every side as far as it's on the top, which is the level we place it. We are on a good track. Okay, so let me go on. Let me create a score. So while creating a score, I need to create variables to alongside. Coming. Okay, score. So what does the score says? Create a score variable first. 0. Then graphics window. Then I'm having dot brush color. Then I want it to be black. Then I'm having, let's see, score test as a variable too. Then I want my score test should be what? Okay. I think I like it like this. So I want my score test should be what? I want my score test should be shapes dots, then it should add text. Okay, add what? Add text. Okay, then what kind of text is going to add? Is going to add score. Then is 0. Okay, now this is a string. For you to know a string is an inverted comma, so it's going to write exactly what I've written here. So it says, where will this going to appear? Then it's going to move. The shapes is going to move. It says, what is the shape name? Score test. Okay, that means 10. X and Y as usual. Is it X and Y? Am I wrong? I'm coming. Let me say move. Oh yeah, X and Y as usual. Okay, yeah. So that's it. So I should know exactly what I'm doing. Okay, so I want it to be 10 and 10. So it's going to be automatically at the top. Then I have, let me see, game over should be false. That means if it's not game over, the game should continue. False. Okay, let us try to see where we have been so far. Okay, score. Now our ball have moved to where it's meant to be. Exactly. Remember, random position. See, you can see here. Let me close it. It says random position, but on the same level. You see the ball in another place now, another location. Can you see that? Let me go again. Okay, all done. I'm coming. Random position. Thank you. So let us go on and on and on. So what you have to do now is, to save us time, just look at how the code continues. So you're just listening, just look at what I'm doing. I'm sure you understand it since you understand how to place the variables, and I'm sure in class I've explained how loop and every other thing works out. Stay tuned, look at it, and make sure you complete your code. Thank you.